Truck drivers are suffering. They're really suffering, but how badly are they suffering? Well, in today's video, I'm actually going to put things into perspective for you, where I'm going to take a owner-operator and a lease operator. We're going to take their paychecks from July 2023, and we're going to compare the exact same mileages to July of 2022. How bad is the situation? Only you can assess it. So we're going to break this video down into 3 parts. We're going to talk about the changes in our industry, which truck drivers are suffering. Is it the regional? Is it the long haul? The contract guys? Which truck drivers are suffering the most? And then we're going to get into those pay statements where we'll take 2 drivers, one from 2022 and one from 2023, based on the national averages of that time. So right now we're at $2.10 per mile. Back then in 2022, we were at $2.95 per mile. But what does that actually mean for a driver's pay, both weekly and monthly? So make sure you're here till the end of this video. Now let's get right into it. So the first thing we'll talk about when it comes to changes in our industry is interest rates. I mean, interest rates have gone through the roof. I know that this time last year, we were financing our brand new trailers, brand new trucks, reefers, flatbeds. It doesn't matter what it was. We were financing our equipment at 3.25%, maybe 3.5%. Now, 12 months, literally 12 months later, we're financing the exact same equipment at 6.25% and 6.35%. So those interest rates have skyrocketed. The second thing we'll talk about is the cost of equipment. My God, what have we seen in the last 18 months, 24 months? We've seen trailers go from $40,000, which was the norm across, the last 10 years that I can remember, it's been $40,000. It went up to 50, 55, 60, 65, and it capped out at about $70,000 for a brand new trailer. And now slowly, it's starting to come down. With every month that we wait on our purchase, we see the trailers, reefers, vans, they're all coming down. So I'm literally afraid to purchase any equipment because I know that this time next year, same piece of equipment is going to be selling for about $3,000-4,000 less. So instability in equipment sales. The third thing we're going to talk about is the fuel. I mean, my God, what have we seen in the last 18 months? Last 18 months, I've seen the fuel at 6.25, 6.5, 6.75 per gallon. The East Coast or the West Coast, we've seen them really high, and we've seen them come down. National average right now is $3.80. We were doing pays at $5, $5.50 where the national average was at $5. What instability, and that's the worst thing for us because we got to bill our customers. So the next set of challenges I'm going to talk about is more of trucking companies to trucking companies. These are challenges because trucking companies are growing at an abnormal pace. I've seen companies in the last 5-7 years literally go from a fleet of 20 to a fleet of about 400-500, and it's multiple companies in the US. That's not healthy, is it? I know we opened up in 2005, and now it's 17 years later, and we're still at about 100-110 power units. Boy, oh boy, do I see companies growing at an abnormal pace, and it is causing a lot of competition between one trucking company to the other, and prices are slowly coming down because of that. Too many trucks are in the market. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the economic condition. So it does appear that we are right now either in or heading into a recession. Now, when you're headed into a recession, people, consumers out there are starting to spend less and less and are being more reserved with the way that they spend. And that's why the shipments going state to state, province to province, whatever it is, they're starting to decrease. Even the trade between Canada and US to Canada, they're starting to slowly come down, and we trucking companies are definitely starting to feel it. This time last year, for every 10 loads that were out there was only 5 trucks, which means these shippers and brokers, they were all fighting and competing for our trucks. Well, today everything's in reverse. There's literally 10 trucks for every 5 loads. So we trucking companies now are fighting over those exact same loads. So guys, before we get into the pay statements, let's quickly talk about which truck drivers are currently getting affected the most by the situation out there right now. So no, it's not the local drivers. The local drivers are still getting their hourly rate. They're still banking their 40, 45, 50 hours a week without a problem. They are not getting affected as much as other drivers are. Now, company drivers, yeah, they're getting affected, but they're getting affected a little bit. They're starting to notice delays between runs. So if the driver delivers to a certain location, from the time he delivers to the time he picks up, there might be some gaps of a few hours before he gets dispatched onto his next load. And then the same thing happens sometimes with layovers. So drivers are starting to lay over. Let's say a driver did a delivery today at lunchtime, then it's very common that he would have to wait until tomorrow to pick up that load. So yes, company drivers are getting affected, but they're getting affected a little bit. So drivers that are getting paid salary. So if you're getting paid $60,000, $70,000, it covers up to 60 hours per week. You really could care less what's going on in the industry. You really don't care at all on what's happening in the industry because you're getting your salary, and whether you're working, whether you're not working, whether you're driving or you're at a truck stop, doesn't matter, you're still getting paid. So it is affecting you absolutely zero zilch nada. Now also owner operators that are getting paid per mile. So this is the system that's more common here in Canada, where owner operators get paid per mile. They have their base rate and then they have the fuel surcharge. So those drivers could really care less about what's happening in the market. They're not getting affected at all. They're getting dispatched with the exact same rate per mile that they were when it was $3 a mile or $2.95 per mile. So yes, they did not get the benefit back then, but they are not hurting as much right now. And you'll see this in the pay statements that I'm going to share with you. The drivers that are getting affected, those owner operators and the lease operators that are working off of the market. So it doesn't matter what your pay package is, whether it's 88.12 or 75.25. In Atlanta, Georgia, we have 75.25, and those are the pay statements that I'm going to show you. And I'm going to show you the difference between somebody who worked in 2023 versus the exact same pay back in 2022. The gross earnings was much higher last year. The national average was $2.95 per mile. Yes, the fuel was a little bit more expensive, but the drivers made a ton more money versus what they're making right now. So without further ado, let's get into those weekly and annual pay statements. So now we're going to talk about the first driver that drove 2,950 miles at $2.10 per mile. This is what he grossed out. For those of you wondering why I take $2.10 per mile, because if you look here at the national spot rates, currently the first 2 weeks of July, the national average is $2.10 per mile, and that's why I take that number and plug it in here. Okay, so gross earnings. Now, the reason we're doing this exercise to see how much did the drivers get affected between their pay today versus their pay this time last year. Okay, so here you have a driver that grosses $6,195. These are owner operators, even lease operators, same thing. Okay, they get a 25% cut for the company that they work for, and insurance is included and their trailer is included. The truck lease is $650, so this is for lease operators. And I'll do the exact same thing for owner operators in 2 minutes, okay? So if the driver drove 7.5 miles per gallon, with today's national average at $3.80, $1,475 for fuel. Tolls and bridges is $125, accident insurance, and then you have your registration. So here is the total deductions. The driver nets $2,195, which is over the course of the year, currently an owner operator or a lease operator is making $107,000. Now, if you want to see how much the owner operator makes, he's making $139,000 because he doesn't have the truck lease that he pays to the company. Okay, so this is today's numbers based on today's national average. But if we were to reverse to this time last year, okay, when the freight rates were $2.95 per mile, that same driver would have grossed $8,702 with the exact same deduction. So 25% deduction. The truck lease $650, the fuel at 7.5 miles per gallon. Yes, the only difference in these two pay statements is this time last year, national average for fuel was $4.65 per gallon, which means that the driver would pay $18.29 for fuel back then. Tolls and bridges is the same. The registration and the plates and the insurance is $33 per week, so it's the same. So the driver made last year $182,000, and if you take away that lease payment for the owner operator, we're talking about $215,000. So let's put these two numbers side by side. You have $139,000 versus $214,000. All right, so here you have the reefer division. Currently, the national average, we'll see it over here. When we go to reefer, you'll see in July it's $2.47. That's why I plugged this number over here. Same miles, 2,950 miles, grossed out $7,200. Here's all the deductions. We won't go into all the deductions again, but we did. When you're running a reefer, you're usually more common to drive at 44,000 pounds loaded, so that's why I took the fuel consumption down to 7 miles per gallon. And then you have the exact same deductions, and here he is, the driver on the lease program made $141,000. But if you take away that lease truck, if you are an owner operator that owns your own truck, today's owner operators are making about $173,000. These are actual numbers based on today's national average. Now, if I did the exact same exercise this time last year, where reefer rates were $3.48 per mile, boy oh boy is there a difference. So if you look at the deductions, the exact same deductions, a lease operator took home $233,000, and an owner operator, if we get rid of that number over there, would take $265,000. So mind you that these pay statements obviously do not have the repairs and maintenance are not here, but this is a good indication for you to see how big of a difference the pay statements are from this time last year when it was good versus right now where it's horrible. One more thing that I do need to talk about is taxes. So whenever I bring up these gross figures, obviously, you know, at the end of the year, an owner operator or lease operator, really they need to do their taxes at the end of the year. So one of the things, I mean, if you haven't seen one of my videos on building wealth in corporations and how you should have your money within your corporation, make sure you're watching this video over here. I'll link it up, where it talks about drivers building wealth within their organization, within their corporations. But this video is all about, you know, showing you the difference in pay statements between 2023 and 2022. Now you have the data. I hope you do understand how big of a difference it is from last year to this year. It is huge, both for owner operators, for lease operators, and us fleet owners are definitely starting to feel the difference in the numbers. So guys, the whole point of this video was to show you truck drivers out there, whether you're an owner operator, a lease operator, a company driver, working local, highway, city, it doesn't matter where you're working, or even if you're thinking of coming into this industry. I wanted to show you out there how bad it is for owner operators and lease operators. Yes, it could get worse, but the times are really tough right now. So think twice before you're coming into our industry. I'm Ronen, R-O-N-E-N, and I'll catch you in the next video.